2-week turbo bulk. What's on, guys? This video is... Drop the knife. Put the knife down. This video is going to be the 2-week turbo bulk finale. Basically what I did, what happened, if it worked, how much size I managed to put on. Last month I was in Asia, and I was in Asia for a total of 2 months. During that time I didn't train properly, I didn't eat properly, and for the entire last 4 weeks of my trip in Asia I was very, very ill. I literally like withered away out there and atrophied into like nothing. This was when I first arrived in Asia, so I was already a tiny bit smaller here, and this is when I'd come back from Asia. I'd lost an inch off my arms when I come back. I'd lost mass everywhere, but the thing was, I was the exact same weight. So I didn't necessarily lose weight, but what happened was my body composition changed. So I gained body fat, lost muscle mass, and just got very, very weak and lost a lot of overall size. When I came back from Asia at the start of summer, my original plan was to cut. I wanted to diet down and lose some weight, but I got back and I'd lost so much size that I was like, shit. I set aside 2 weeks to bulk and said, I want to gain as much size as humanly possible in this 2-week period and put on as much mass and get to where I was in 2 weeks. This is basically the results from that 2-week period. Right, if you go to my weight gain spreadsheet, you will see that I started on 192.2 pounds. Okay, I lied. I lost about 10 pounds whilst I was in Asia. Start of my bulk, I was 192.2 pounds and I ended on 200.9 pounds in 2 weeks, and 18 pounds in 2 weeks. Incredibly large amount of weight. Obviously that isn't all going to be muscle, a lot of that's going to be water weight. Here are my calories. I started on 3,300, then went to 3,500 just because I wanted to take things up a notch and gain weight a bit quicker. And the blank spaces are just where I was away and couldn't weigh myself. So, waist. New waist measurement was 33 inches. I managed to lose an inch off my waist during this 2-week bulk. So what that suggests to me is that I've managed to gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time. Next up is arms. I wanted to get back to 17-inch arms. That's the biggest my arms had ever been. Unfortunately, I didn't get 17-inch arms, but I managed to put on 0.5 inches on my arms in 2 weeks. Chest, managed to add 1 inch to my chest in 2 weeks. Quads we didn't measure, calves we didn't measure because who gives a fuck about legs? So going by the numbers, it looks very, very good and very, very promising, but the truth is kind of what I actually look like. And here's a video when I just got back as I was starting the bulk. As you can see, I'm holding quite a lot of body fat. Compared to what I normally am, I'd call that skinny fat. Before, after. I reckon, as you can see, I've definitely dropped body fat. You can see my abs are more defined, my obliques are more defined, and I've got a bit more mass on me, like pretty much everywhere, to be honest. Look, delts are popping more, I've got better lines in my delts, chest is looking better. Overall, I am looking better. There's not going to be like massive, huge changes in 2 weeks, but you can tell that I've got leaner and I'm looking bigger and fuller as well. What I effectively did then was I effectively managed to recomp my body. I did an accidental body recomp. I managed to lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. And there's a very common misconception that it is just something that doesn't really happen. But there's 3 main reasons why what happened did. Number 1, first one and probably the most profound one, the weight that I gained is not going to be all muscle mass. Most of the weight that I gained is going to come from water. As I wasn't dieting, as I wasn't eating a lot of carbohydrates, when I came back, when I got back on a diet, the carbohydrates that I ate, my body stored them as glycogen. Carbs are a source of energy. The body wants to store carbohydrates when carbohydrates are plentiful, so your body stores carbohydrates as glycogen. The reaction that actually forms glycogen uses water. So every 1 gram of glycogen that you store, you can expect to store around 3 to 4 grams of water. Obviously, when people say water weight, you think of it as a bad thing, but the majority of the water is going to be stored in my muscles, so that's going to make me gain weight because I'm holding on to more water in my muscles, and it's also going to make me look bigger, fuller, and because my muscles are bigger as well, it's probably going to make me look slightly leaner if the water's being drawn from my skin into my muscles, making my muscles bigger, causing them to push a little bit more against my skin. Saying that, I obviously put on mass, but there is no chance that I gained 18 pounds of muscle mass in 2 weeks. Like, number 2 is going to be down to a thing called muscle memory. Because I trained for a total of 7 years prior to this, 5 years of proper training, my muscle cells are going to be packed full of nuclei compared to someone that hasn't trained before. The more you train, the longer you train. Basically, muscle cells have more than one nucleus inside. The more you train, the longer you train, you're meant to have more of these nuclei formed. So what that basically means is that compared to someone that hasn't trained before, or compared to someone that's only just started training, my muscle cells are going to be able to synthesize proteins a lot quicker. Even though my muscle might have atrophied away, I've got smaller, I've still got these nuclei within my cells that produce the protein, so protein synthesis is going to be a whole damn lot faster, and it means you can make some substantial gains. Like, that's why I always say, if you've trained before and you stop training for a while, or you get ill, or you can't train or something like that, you will spring back very, very quickly, and going to the gym will be great. great, it'll be fun, you'll see like active progress. So don't worry if you can't train and miss a bit of gym, muscle memory has got your back. Number 3, I briefly mentioned this, the time off training acted like a recomp where it allowed me to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. A 2015 study that put men and women on a high protein diet and a weight training program found that they lost fat and gained muscle. So it's not something new to science. Science recognizes this. Jeff Nippard actually has a cool video on body recomping if you check that out. He went over 4 circumstances where you can actually do this recomp, where you can lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. Number 1 is if you're a newbie lifter. So if you just started training, you go into a very small calorie deficit. Number 2 is if you're a detrained individual, someone that's trained already and has stopped training like me. Number 3 is going to be if you're very overweight or obese, you got so much excess energy in the form of fat. And number 4 is if you take steroids. Muscle is a very costly tissue to keep. It takes a lot of energy, so you're gonna have to eat a lot of food to keep it, and it just uses a lot of your body's resources. So if you're not using it, your body's like, hang on a minute, why have we got this muscle when we don't need it? We don't need it to adapt to our current environment. When you stop training, your body's basically like, nah, we don't need this, let's just get rid of it. And then because I had that break, because I removed the stimulus of weight training altogether, then I went back into very high intensity training. The stimulus of just lifting weights itself, let alone all the volume and how much I was training, is going to be absolutely huge. And why I recomped as well was I wasn't very lean, like I was at the very end of my bulk, so I was at high body fat, my body wasn't under any kind of stress, I hadn't trained in 2 months. That was going to be a huge factor because training itself is an entirely new stimulus. And number 3, like I mentioned earlier, is muscle memory. I was high body fat at the start, I was detrained, and muscle memory basically gave me results that I did over the 2-week bulk. Like, it just goes to show as well, if you're a trained individual, then having a few weeks off might be good for overall progress every now and then, like just taking a few weeks off and then coming back in a small calorie surplus to recomp. I want to say that what I was doing was not maintainable. Recomping, losing body fat and gaining muscle at the same time is not maintainable. Eventually, I'm going to start storing the extra calories as fat. So how did I do everything? What I did was, nutrition is the most important thing. So I was ensuring that I was in a daily, and I mean daily, not every other day, daily calorie surplus. So I wanted to eat more food than my body was burning. The reason I did that is because your body is going to want more energy than it needs to maintain its weight. It's going to want a surplus of energy so it can use that extra energy, those extra calories, towards building muscle. I, in a calorie surplus, I had 3,500 calories a day. High protein. I ensured that I was getting 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Protein is obviously very important for building muscle because protein, amino acids, protein. I ensured all nutritional requirements were met daily. In my last video, I go all about my nutrition and my diet. During this, I ensured I got the right amount of protein, carbs, fats, and calories. I supplemented 3.5 grams of HMB in my last video as well. In terms of training, I trained 6 days a week. I trained every single body part twice a week. So I had 1 day off each week because you don't want to train too much. In terms of my workouts, what I do, when I start my workouts, I'll do 3 to 4 compound movements. So stuff that hits more than one joint, such as like a squat, a shoulder press, or a bench press. And then I will do 3 to 4 isolation exercises as well towards the end of a workout. So stuff that uses one joint, more simpler movements. The reason I do that, 1, because you recruit a lot of muscle fibers when you do them. They are incredibly taxing and hard, so obviously you're going to want to do them at the start. And 2 is they are quite complicated lifts to do as well. If you're like fatiguing whilst doing them, or you're like quite fucked going into them, you risk injuring yourself. So what that basically looks like, let's say for example, I did a chest and tricep session. I'll start with something like 4 sets flat barbell bench press. I'll then go on to 4 sets incline dumbbell bench press. I'll then do something like an incline push press. So that's 3 compound exercises. I'll then do something like chest flies, 1 isolation, overhead tricep dumbbell extension for 4 sets, another isolation on my triceps, and then I'd finish off with a 6th exercise, something like cable or rope push downs for my triceps. If you want to know more about how I train and follow my programs, I have programs down below, and these aren't like shit, grab a load of random exercises, grab a load of random reps programs. I should be selling them for a lot more than I am, but you can check out my cutting and bulking guides down below. One comes with like a 50-page ebook going over everything in terms of diet, nutrition, and training. And the cool thing is as well, it comes on an app on your phone. So when I next want to put on muscle, because I'm cutting now, what I'm next probably going to do is I'll look to implement a small calorie surplus. I won't go into a big calorie surplus and get really fat. Go into like a small to moderate calorie surplus, take things slow, try and make some lean gains, accept that I'll put on a bit of fat, but I won't go into like this huge calorie surplus. Like if you guys want to gain a substantial amount of muscle, going into a big calorie surplus is good. But if you get too fat, it can do things like suppress your testosterone. After my cut will be a good time to recomp. Like put in a few calories after you finish cutting for a few weeks. Try and continue to cut whilst bulking. Like I might that is my 2 week turbo bulk. I didn't get all the muscle back that I lost. Like, I'll put a picture here of before I left. Like, you can see that I'm a lot fatter than I was at the end of this, but I was also a lot bigger. I had a lot more mass, but I'm in a good position to start my cut. And overall, I'm happy with progress, and it's gone better than I thought it was going to. So I would like 17 arms back. I'm that absolutely grind arms out and train like biceps every single day, like fuck legs, fuck calves, bicep day every day, and maybe we'll get back to 17, but we'll see. Let me know in the comment box down below if you've successfully managed to recomp, if you've ever managed to gain muscle or lose body fat, or if you've ever managed to gain body fat and lose muscle. Like, let me know. And also hit me up and let me know what videos you want to see next. I've started cutting now. I've got like this killer spreadsheet. Like, I'm a big fan of my spreadsheets and being like really OCD and like planning everything, so I'll show you guys of that soon. I'm kind of doing these educational things at the moment, which are a pain in the dick to edit, but it's kind of cool. I said I would do them for you guys. A lot of you guys asked for them. Let me know if you want to see these, or let me know if you want to see me shoot John and Andy in the face with some more fireworks or whatever. That is that. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Leave it a like, give it a share if you liked it. I gotta go to the gym. I'm running super late and I'm gradually speaking faster and faster and faster, but peace out. I love you. Bye.